Clayton Kershaw making his final warm-ups before pitching to Team Kike in the top of the first inning. It's his final tune-up before getting the ball opening night against the Giants on Thursday. Let's check in right now with the fifth member of our broadcast team for tonight. Ned Colletti is with us as well. Hi, Ned.
Hey there, John. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing fantastic. What are you hoping to see tonight from the Dodgers ace?
And especially on his breaking ball. Walker Buehler, a little bit different. Or obviously a little bit behind Clayton, probably 20, 30 pitches behind him. But it's a pretty cool matchup, especially when you think about inter-squad games. Tough to get these two guys matched up, but you got a chance tonight.
It is a fun pitching matchup with Kershaw against Walker Buehler, three-time Cy Young Award winner, against a possible Cy Young Award winner of the future in Butane. Kershaw last time out went 5 innings, threw 91 pitches, or else I imagine tonight he's going to be getting close to that 100 pitch mark. This is a guy who came to summer camp already somewhat building up. He had thrown a 3-inning simulated game before they even reported.
Yeah, I think the pitch count won't be a mystery. What will be a mystery going into the night and what to look for? Does Clayton really use his whole repertoire, or does he go back to more the slider and the fastball in, the curveball and the high fastball? But will he use the arm side of the plate, and will he even mix in the changeup as we get close as he can be to competition?
1 pitch, 1 out as A.J. Pollock leading off the game flies out to Cody Bellinger in center. Here is the MVP of these first 2 games of Team Kike against Team Turner. It's Kike Hernandez. Player manager Nomar went deep last night, hit a grand slam, was really the difference in the game.
Well, it's amazing before he went deep how he was telling his guys, like, listen, when you get on, don't try to take the extra base. Make sure you fill the base. Just stay right there, go station to station, because you have me batting where I can drive you all in, and he did.
And he's quickly behind Clayton Kershaw, 0-2. Kershaw with 8 strikeouts in that last appearance on Sunday in his 5 innings.
Comment, but if you look back in baseball history, 1948, Lou Boudreau was 24 years old, playing shortstop for the Indians, also managed that team. A little bit of Kike Hernandez there. He was the MVP of the league, took the Tribe to the World Series, and you know, it's not regular season, but it's still been pretty impressive for Kike.
Kike Hernandez has a 1-out single, and in that last game on Sunday, Kike had a pair of doubles against Clayton Kershaw.
I think these guys that are looking to put together big years, consistent years, it's really important in these intra-squad games and then the exhibition games coming up for them to feel like they are locked in. I think the guys that have won MVPs or feel really good about their swings and have proven it over the course of a season, not as big a time for them to get hot as much as the guys like Barnes and Kike.
He's still squaring it up.
Boy, Corey Seager continues to swing a hot bat, drives that one to the gap in left field. And it is a 1-out double, so all of a sudden, 2nd and 3rd for Team Kike against Kersh.
It's a Nomar theory of hitting, right? It's got to come over the plate. When it does, I'm ready to hit.
And he's also hitting it to all fields. That's what I really liked about Corey Seager. When we saw him early on in his career, when he was healthy, this is exactly what we saw from him utilizing the whole field. It wasn't one side. It wasn't where he was pulling off the ball or looking to go to his pull side, and especially when he is driving it. Not a little flare that goes over to the left side, but when it's going on a line with backspin, that's the Corey Seager, MVP type Corey Seager.
The majority of his hits in these intra-squad games, they've come the other way. Let's check in again with Ned. Ned?
You've also had a chance on that play to see some defense. It's tough to practice cutoffs and relays without doing it in real time. So you did have a little bit of chance there between the left fielder and the shortstop to really kind of get that tuned up a little bit before you get to Thursday.
Max Muncy's another guy who's been playing a little bit of catch-up. Took that pitch from Alex Wood on the hand. And his left ring finger was banged up for a few days. It actually hurt more for him to catch a baseball in his glove than it did to swing the bat. But he's been swinging the bat pretty well the last few nights since returning.
I'm real interested about Game 30 with the crowd noise being pumped in when the Dodgers are playing at home. If all of a sudden the chance of MVP get pinned on some of these guys coming up the plate that are having good years.
We were talking about it last night. This could be a year if someone has a good 6 weeks. You could have an unexpected player win the MVP, win a Cy Young this year.
Yep.
in a 60-game sprint. Two and two to Muncy.
Full season, somebody gets off to a hot start, nobody even thinks about MVP.
Right.
But in this one, you have a first 10 games hot start, you're right there.
Now when they ask you, so who's the MVP so far? And you're like, oh my God, it's only the first month of the season, uncle. You're like, oh, now you're like, yeah.
Yeah, you're at the midpoint.
Right
You're at the midway
there.
point.
2 and two to Muncy. Kershaw gets a ground ball to the right side. Nice sliding stop there by Beatty. The flip to Kershaw for the out. But Kike comes across to score the first run of the game.
It is a nice play by Beatty down there at first. You got a couple of guys that are trying to show that their gloves can play to get more at-bats. Edwin Rios is that kind of guy. Beatty's that kind of guy. You know, Matt has always said his favorite position is in the batter's box.
Right. So let's check in again with Ned.
Besides trying to work your players into a little bit of a crescendo before opening day, I like to see the defense. The cutoff and relay we saw a couple minutes ago, and then the 3-1 put out right there. That's all execution. That's all timing. You can work on that a little bit in your drills before a game, but always good to be able to do it in real time, real speed.
And I know these games don't count, Nomar, but this team has done a lot of things really well as Will Smith drives one deep to right field, and that one is gone. Wow, Will Smith with a 2-run shot off Clayton Kershaw here in the first inning, and it's 3-0, Team Kike.
If the Blue Tops are the home team, Nomar, we start hearing chants of sweep.
Really good at bats against Clayton Kershaw and approaches. We talk about Corey Seager going the other way, not trying to really muscle up and pull it. While there we see Will Smith doing the exact same thing. Fastball up in the zone, too, and able to get the barrel to that ball.
Well, what I was mentioning earlier, Nomar, is that we've seen a lot of hitters squaring up a lot of baseballs. We've seen some really good defense. We've seen some good pitching performances as well. And I know it is just intra-squad games, but we've seen a lot of really good things from this team the last couple weeks, including from this guy, Edwin Rios, who has 3 home runs. That was Will Smith's 3rd home run, by the way, in intra-squad play.
We have seen a lot of good things, as you mentioned, John, and I think that also goes to the amount of depth that this team has. That you're like, it's really easy to see a lot of good things with a lot of talent that they have.
And Dave Roberts said we might see some really sloppy baseball that first week of the season because of that quick ramp up, but they've been pretty sharp for the most part these last couple weeks of intra-squad games.
Edwin has made some nice plays on defense, but he's also made a few routine plays look kind of hard to make. I'm sure that's the only part of this game right now where there's nerves. He's looked comfortable in the box, but not there, John.
Clayton Kershaw gets a strikeout of Rios there to end the top of the first inning, but 3 runs on the board for Team Kike.
With Walker, 2 innings, I'd like to see him repeat a delivery. Just make sure he feels good. I don't know, really what to expect of the command. I think the bigger tell would be tomorrow and how he feels coming out of it.
And that is Walker Buehler right there, taking the mound for the bottom of the first inning. Dave Roberts also saying they're going to be very careful, understandably, with Walker Buehler's buildup and with the rosters beginning the season at 30. There will be more arms in the bullpen or to eat up some of the innings as Buehler does continue to build up.
If you map out the Dodger season, they're thinking about October, and they've always been that way. The last 7 years, they've been there. And I think with Walker, that's the plan. You don't know why he came into camp a little shorter than Stripling, Kershaw, or Rios, but I'm sure there was a legitimate reason, and they are just taking it easy and slowly because this is the kind of guy, he gets hot in the playoffs, he can carry you to a world championship.
Respect to the season because you got to play it. You've got to get to October. I think Walker Buehler, when the Dodgers really need Walker Buehler, you're talking about the end of September and really the month of October. That he came in a little bit late and that he's a little bit behind, to me, is really no big deal at this point in time, especially with expanded rosters. And as you guys know, teams try to get their bullpen work early in the season. You don't want somebody pitching in Tuesday's exhibition game and then not pitching again until the next Monday or Tuesday. So by virtue of him being a little bit short, I don't think that's any issue whatsoever. I'd rather have him strong at the end than strong on July 30th.
1-2 to Mookie Betts, and I'd say he looks pretty sharp right there. He strikes out the 2018 AL MVP to begin his night.
There's some kind of slide piece after you throw him low fastball, high fastball, and you mix in something that looks like a strike, ends up a ball.
Dave Roberts saying they'd like to get Walker Buehler to about 3 or 4 innings for his first start of the season. Scheduled to go 2 innings tonight. And so if he's going 3 innings all in his first start of the regular season, how soon can we expect him to be to where Clayton Kershaw is, throwing about 100 pitches, and even where Ross Stripling and Alex Wood are?
I think they'll be careful, but the normal ramp-up is 15 extra pitches from your last outing and 1 more inning usually. Sometimes you extend that in the bullpen. Sometimes you do it in the game. And I think it'll be a lot of communication. But right here, these 2 quick outs, good swinging, hot swinging Jock Peterson, and then making Mookie Betts swing and miss. He looks fine so far.
5 pitches. He has 2 outs. It's Justin Turner. His team dropping the first 2 games of this mini 3-game series against Team Kike. I would say he drafted well, though, Oral. You can't blame him for that. He's got Mookie on his team. He's got Belly. He's got Jock, CT3. Has Kershaw starting for him tonight?
There's not a bad draft when you look at this Dodger roster.
Both sides actually look good.
You just throw darts
really
at the board with all the names, you're going to get a good team.
It's so true. This team is so deep. Not just 1 through 26. 1 through 40. And Buehler's ahead of JT 0-2. One and 2.
I don't know if he cut that last pitch on purpose, but boy, that would be a hard hit if it was over the plate. That had some late action.
JT takes their 2-2. Walker Buehler coming off his first All-Star campaign in 2019.
I know it's early in this outing, but Walker Buehler's pitches look really sharp. His breaking pitches have that late break and some sharpness to it.
I'm glad he's respecting his teammates and just working away. I'm sure in his first outing, first inning, that he does not want to come in on somebody and all of a sudden you lose a roster spot. Somebody like a Mookie Betts or a Jock Peterson or now a Justin Turner.
Count is full to Turner. It's fouled off. Or do you like the crowd noise? Your first chance to really hear it coming through the broadcast.
Yeah, when I've been working remotely from Las Vegas, I didn't hear a lot of this. I like it a lot. I really do. And I like the fact that we're going with little tighter camera angles. And it'll be interesting when we see the fan cutouts, too.
I got it.
That one has popped up into foul territory. And Will Smith makes the catch. So a quick 1-2-3 inning from Walker Buehler in his intra-squad debut. It is 3-0 in favor of Team Kike going to the second.
It's going to be different. It's going to be a different champion, and you're going to still be a champion. But to say like there's an asterisk on it or things like that, I don't think is fair. So I think there needs to be like a whole different category for what this season is. But at the end of the day, I think if you win this season, it's going to feel pretty good no matter what.
Absolutely. A 60-game sprint to get to October, and then you go through the same tournament you would any other year. Let's check in with Ned.
Well, exactly right there, John. October is going to still mean you're going to have to win 11 games. And there may be one surprise that gets in, maybe 2 over both leagues. But by and large, I think the best teams are going to be there, which is typical of a race, a 162-game long race. So I think when you get to the month of October, it'll all be real.
Kershaw facing Anthony Garcia to lead off the top of the second inning here.
We've talked about, the Dodgers winning 7 in a row, but only 2 times after 60 games have they been in first place.
And you look at the last 2 National League champions, Washington Nationals last year and the Dodgers in 2018. Neither one of them would have made the playoffs if they called the season after 60 games. Of course, the Nationals wanted to win the World Series last year.
But it's a different mindset, too. When you know it's a marathon, you're also slow play certain guys that you're going, hey, we have time. Let's make sure they're 100%.
Anthony Garcia rips one in the hole. Chris Taylor, beautiful backhand play, throws him out.
Yeah, when they're filling out the lineups for a 60-game sprint, it's going to be a little different than thinking about, how do we get our perfect matchup in there? But, we can't because we played him 3 days in a row. These guys are all going to want to play every day, and the management is going to want to put the best matchups on the field every day. And rest, as far as a quotient and an impetus of what you're going to write names in there, is going to be a little bit farther down the priority list.
As Zach Mckinstry steps in to face Clayton Kershaw, let's check in with Alana.
John, I asked Dave Roberts that very question earlier today, considering it's only a 60-game season in 66 days. I said, these guys are going to want to play every single day. How do you make sure that they get the playing time that they want when you still want to rest guys, but you don't have the same length of season to have to rest guys as much? He said, my mindset is that we have to have 30 guys that want to be out there to win every single night. And he expects his players to have that exact same mindset as well, that it's not about playing time, it's not about rest. We know everybody wants to play every day. If you didn't, you wouldn't be at the big league level, but they want to put a lineup together that expects to win day in and day out.
All right, thanks, Alana. Win every night, and some people might say win every single pitch. You have Pete Alonso of the Mets who just said today there's going to be a lot of weight behind every single pitch. He says every out, every pitch is going to matter so much this season. Mckinstry drives one the other way. That's going to get down for a base hit. Mckinstry going for 2. And he's in there with a 1-out double.
He's had a good spring 2.0 so far. He has definitely left an impression, I'm sure, on this Dodgers staff. I don't see him possibly breaking camp when the season starts, but they're going to remember what he's actually showed so far here.
From my generation, he reminds me of a Terry Pendleton. He's just a baseball player, and he finds a way to get the bat on the ball with odd pitches. He's got some interesting footwork to attack the low pitch or the ball that's inside by his knees.
That's exactly how Dave Roberts described him today. He said he's just a baseball player. He said there's a lot to like. He has a high baseball acumen, has versatility. And he says he really likes the left-handed bat. And we've seen him hitting the ball the other way, somewhat like Corey Seager, throughout this summer camp.
You can't do what he's doing and be anxious or thinking you're overwhelmed by the talent on the field that he's with. Because he's making adjustments on the fly. He's thinking the game. He's a baseball player. He's like a gym rat out there playing, but really good at baseball.
Not bad for former 33rd round pick out of Central Michigan just 4 years ago. A guy who did not hit a single home run at Central Michigan in his college career there. DJ Peters behind Clayton Kershaw, now 1-2. Good curveball from Kersh right there.
There's a pitcher on the roster, too, from the 33rd round, isn't there? I think there might be.
It's like 38th round.
There is.
38th.
I think, was it DeGus? Or
yeah, it might be DeGus. With the changeup, throws a short arm out of the back of his head. He was going to get released or go to extended spring, and then somebody got hurt. He went to A-ball and did really well, and all of a sudden made a name for himself.
DJ Peters goes down. That's out number 2 here in the top of the second. Curveball just freezes him. His knees buckling there on DJ Peters. Back to the top of the order, and A.J. Pollock swung at the first pitch, his first time up. Fly out to Cody Bellinger in center.
The veteran hitters have been attacking Kersh like the league does a lot on the first pitch, knowing that he loves to get ahead, and he's like the first pitch strike king.
On that point, I'm curious to see how advanced scouting works now, because you really are going to go off of last year's reports. You probably had some scouting in spring training way back in March. but it's going to be a lot of the history that you've seen previously. Because let's face it, Kershaw is trying to get his work in, but he's not pitching to a hitter's weakness at this point in time. So it's a different dynamic than you would typically see leading up to a season as far as your prep work for the opponent you're going to play.
0-2 to A.J. Pollock. It was Brett DeGuss, by the way, former 33rd rounder out of Cabrillo College, just up north along the coast.
With the new draft rules, you won't have anybody in the 33rd or 38th round anymore. That'll be a free agent sign, no matter if they go to keep it at 5 or move it to 20.
Ned, do you think that'll cut down on the size of scouting departments, or you'll still have to scout everybody around the world?
I think it will cut it down a little bit. I think you're still going to have to scout because your picks are going to become more important, and you're going to have the free agents that you can sign later on. But I think it will diminish the scouting a little bit.
Kirsch gets A.J. Pollock looking to end the second. Nothing across for Team Kike in that frame. Going to the bottom of the second right after this.
You know, I still feel the same way about this game that I always have, and I'm excited. And, you know, in those big moments and spots, I think it's natural, and I think it's almost insincere to bottle it up. And at least for me, you know, some guys can do that, some guys like myself can't. So, you know, maybe I'll just have to figure out where the microphones are and scream the other direction.
He only knows one way. He pitches with so much emotion out there on the mound, Oral, and he's so competitive. And he's similar to Clayton Kershaw in some ways. He's going to react sometimes with each and every pitch. It's hard for someone like that to dial it back.
You know what? You took the words out of my mouth when you compare him to Clayton. These guys, side works, in-game, practice, any of it, they're at another level. They do not need the intensity to brew. They don't need the opponent to make them do it. It comes from someplace deep within with these guys.
Another quick out for Walker Buehler. Gets Cody Bellinger swinging at the first pitch, hitting a foul fly ball to left. McKinstry made the catch. Here's Chris Taylor.
You know, years ago when I was with the Cubs and Greg Maddux was pitching for the Cubs, the team would be in Montreal. Wasn't a lot of fans there, and Greg would usually curse after every pitch that missed the spot, and you could hear it all through Olympic Stadium. So maybe a little bit reminiscent of that coming forward here too.
Well, maybe at home starts, Walker Buehler can have them crank up the ambient crowd noise there just a little bit more during the game. So
I'm sure eventually they're going to be recognizing who they're going to have to crank up the noise for and who they're not.
The only one that would have rivaled him if he was still here is Rich Hill.
Yep.
As far as volume.
Rich Hill now in Minnesota. We saw someone posted video of Rich Hill last week throwing in an intra-squad game, and he was yelling and grunting, and I guess they weren't used to that.
They're probably going, whoa, what's going on? Because he probably walked in, smiles, making friends with everybody, and they're like, oh, when did the switch happen?
Walker Buehler's probably going to want some more work. That's 3 outs. He's only thrown 17 pitches. And we saw Kenley the other night. He got 3 quick outs, and he stayed out there to get a 4th out and still only threw 8 pitches.
He might want to get the pitch count to 25, even 30. Because if you're scheduled for 2 innings, and the max you usually like to push somebody where they change side has been around 15 to 17 pitches in an inning. So yeah, there could be some more work in that arm, and they've nullified one of the outs on the scoreboard. 2 out.
Which one? You think one of the guys, you think Bellinger's going, hey, can you take mine off? Take mine off, please.
I want my inter-squad average up.
1-1 to Austin Barnes. I'd say Walker Buehler looks pretty good tonight. His first intra-squad game, whether he's not built up sufficiently quite yet, he's still looking pretty good.
He's going predominantly to the glove side with both the breaking balls and the fastball. Hasn't really come in on anybody, left-handed or right-handed. And that's a good sign. When you can command the glove side, it takes a little bit more patience. Here we go in, but nope. Commanded the outside, even though the target was in.
It's a good miss.
It's a little more extension, depending on what your center of gravity does. I took my center of gravity right towards the target, where some guys will take it straight ahead and then make another adjustment, kind of like you're changing lanes on a highway. Walker's doing a nice job staying in his mechanics, waiting for foot strike before he launches, and taking it right down that line over his glove.
We do have Major League umpires behind the plate throughout this intra-squad series between Team Kike and Team Tur. Sometimes those umpires might not give you that call, or when you miss your spot, but you would have got the call in that case. That is a called strike, 3 to Austin Barnes, so Buehler gets 4 outs in that second inning. 25 pitches thrown. We are through 2. It's 3-0, Team Kike.
Cody Bellinger, the 2019 National League MVP. What a great year he had last year. And guys, if you look around the outfield right now, I'd be hard-pressed to find a better outfield that is currently active in all of Major League Baseball. I asked Dave Roberts earlier today, with the addition of Pollock back in summer camp, if they've pretty much figured out their outfield already. And we know that Cody's going to be in center. We know that Mookie Betts, an MVP in his own right, is going to be in right field. And left field, of course, as it has been the last few years, versatility is going to be incredibly important. Dave Roberts said, again, it's not about playing time. They're going to do whatever they can to make sure that the best lineup is out there to win on a given night. But they do appreciate the fact, this organization does, that so many different people can play that left field spot.
Crazy good outfield the Dodgers have here in 2020. As Kershaw begins his 3rd inning of work facing Kike Hernandez. Singled off of Kershaw back in the 1st inning.
Kike's helmet is in midseason form.
I was saying the other night, as Kike goes down swinging, if he keeps swinging the bat this way, he might just keep the mustache all year. Might as well.
Number 5, Corey Seager.
You guys are superstitious. You don't mess with a winning streak, no more.
No, you don't. You
have the quote.
You know, it just depends on what he feels is really the thing that is helping him, you know, channel that inner Kike, whether it's the mustache, whether it's the high socks, whether it's the shoes or the glove. I mean, we've seen a very nice
I would keep the mustache.
Glove.
And then if you go into a slump, you can then remove it, so you have a fresh start. It's harder to grow it. It takes 2 or 3 weeks to grow it.
Oh, for sure.
So you can take it off right before the next game.
No, you know, I'm with you. I'm with you. And then you think, okay, I took it off. Yeah, the slump, but if you don't get out of the slump, like, okay, it wasn't the mustache, now what do I do?
Well, then we move to some of your traditions.
Oh, you change things up for sure. Yeah.
Number 13.
I mean, there were a lot of gatherings around your locker when teams were in slumps.
Yeah, that happened.
Watching Kirsch work here, he is really working the bottom of the zone, whether it's with the big 12-6 curveball or with fastballs down. He's trying to really get his command set at the knees and below, trying to get a lot of chase down there too. You can see he's really kind of working that area.
Max Muncy hits a fly ball to deep right center field. Mookie Betts up against the wall. Has it for the out, so a quick 1-2-3 inning for Clayton Kershaw. It's 3-0. We'll see if Team Turner can get the bats going in the bottom half of the 3rd. Taking over for Walker Buehler. After Buehler retired all 7 batters in 2 innings that he faced. A couple of strikeouts. Dustin Mays building up. We saw him last weekend, struck out 7 in 4 innings of work. We saw just before we started this game some of the nasty movement on his pitches.
There are so many guys on this Dodger staff that can really spin a baseball. Their fastballs are not just straight. They have a lot of life on them. And once you get life on your fastball, then all of a sudden you know those guys can spin a baseball and make it break when all of a sudden the signal is a 2 or a 3 or a wiggle. So there's a lot of potential on the staff.
Looks like Walker Buehler might be heading down to the bullpen perhaps to throw another inning or so, throw a few more pitches in the bullpen.
He looks a little bigger across that back there. He did a nice job in the weight room this offseason plus extended time to get a little thicker and a little stronger. That'll protect that elbow and shoulder.
Check in again with Ned.
Well, Dustin May is such an interesting guy, and his stuff is really alive. You look at the left-handed starting pitching that the Dodgers have, and then you think about, okay, they go 4 or 5 innings, and then you can switch and you can bring in a right-hander like May, barring that he's not in the top 5 of the rotation. Really kind of a dynamic second guy to come in and pitch long for 3 or 4 innings. Most teams don't have a guy like this that you could bring in that situation and really turn a lineup around the other side after they start a lineup that's going to be ready to face a left-handed starter.
And with Walker Buehler not really built up as of yet, we might see something similar when Buehler makes his first start during the regular season. They could piggyback Dustin May right after Walker Buehler. Dustin May went 4 innings in that last intra-squad appearance that he made.
You could also slip a guy like Caleb Ferguson between them to go right, left, right. And I think, you think about the competition for supposed 5th starter spot when you're talking about Ross Stripling, May, Gonsolin. What you have, if you decide to go with Stripling, is Gonsolin and May profile more as strikeout pitchers where you can bring them in the middle of an inning and get the big punch out with a man on third, less than 2 out, compared to Ross, a little bit more contact, and all of a sudden you've got the younger, stronger arm coming in that can punch guys out, where Ross is the guy where he develops the changeup, he's got a 4th pitch, he's got the slider now, and he's going to be that consistent force in that 5th spot that really can give you some innings.
Saw Matt Beatty pop up to Corey Seager. This is Luke Raley batting in the 9th spot tonight for Team Turner. Talked about Tony Gonsolin. He has not pitched in any of these intra-squad games. He's expected to pitch tomorrow. They're going to have a hybrid simulated / intra-squad game tomorrow. So Catman will pitch on Catterday at the Ravine tomorrow.
I think he requested that. I think that's why they're...
Maybe he's only going to pitch on Catterday.
Yeah.
Let's check in with Alana.
John, it's been a few days since we've seen reliever Joe Kelly in an appearance in one of these intra-squad games. Dave Roberts telling us that Joe Kelly threw a bullpen session yesterday. In 2 days, he'll throw either in an exhibition game, either against the Diamondbacks or the Angels on Tuesday. And then it might be another pen, or it also might be in a simulated game. So they're going to get him the innings. They're going to get him the appearances. They're just not quite sure exactly in what capacity it's going to be.
All right, thanks, Alana. Corey Seager is tall. I just need another inch or two to come up with that Luke Raley line drive. It's a base hit for Raley. Back to the top of the order, Mookie Betts to face Dustin May. Mookie Betts, a strikeout victim to lead off the game. Walker Buehler getting him.
He'll attack the first pitch and try to drive it.
He is another one of those. He will be aggressive on the first pitch.
What a concept.
I watch Mookie. If I was standing on the mound, I'm like, I can't really sink him low and in. The way he stands and the way we've seen him handle that inside pitch, he has a great approach. And for Dustin May, he cannot let that ball leak back into Mookie's sweet spot.
Here's Dustin May's 1-0 pitch to Betts. It's 2-0. I wonder if Mookie Betts will have any family dinners now that he's in L.A. with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Yeah, Mookie Betts related to Meghan Markle. Found that out a little over a year ago. An amateur genealogist named Jim McNiff found it out that Mookie's great-great-grandfather, Joseph Betts, and Meghan Markle's great-great-great-grandfather, Jacob Betts, lived in Madison County, Alabama in the 1800s. And then last year when the Red Sox went to London to play the Yankees, Meghan Markle met Mookie Betts in the clubhouse before one of the games.
I said, hey, cuz, what's up?
Get a home run for me.
Pretty sure that's how the conversation went. They posted a picture on social media.
That's some deep research there, John. Way to go.
That is pretty strong there, John.
Ned, if they're going to shorten the scouting report
now, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle live out here in L.A., so I figured maybe they just want to get together, have some family dinner.
Yeah.
Look at they.
If you ever want to change careers, you know, it might be a scout.
I'm not a genealogist like Jim McNiff, who did the real research on this. Three and one to Mookie Betts.
Should we start calling him Sir Betts?
I don't think he's been knighted just yet.
He hasn't, but I'll tell you
He will
what.
be by the Dodger fans if he has a good 60 games.
That is true.
I'll tell you what, the Bugs are attacking him, though. This at bat before him, this one.
That ball is hit hard through a hole on the right side. It's a base hit. That'll chase Luke Raley over to third.
It's just the pitch that I think that he's going to own. It's middle of the plate, down, in also. He kind of leaks back right to where his sweet spot is.
Well, that's what we were talking about, what you want to start seeing, you know, late before the season starts. And for me, is when the pitchers makes the mistake and these guys are hitting it hard, are squaring up, are taking advantages of those mistakes. That's what I want to see, whether it was a base hit or not. But he squared that up. You saw that as it was coming in. Even I kind of made a sound because I saw that coming down the middle. I was like, oh, before he even made contact. And that was one where you should be making hard contact, and he did.
So 2-1 for Jock Peterson here in the bottom of the third.
There's a lot of National League teams wish they could do that.
Wait,
The
Cody
big
Bellinger's coming
chair.
up with the bases
We're
loaded?
just going to switch. You guys good with that? We're good?
The big chair chimes in.
Yeah. They give teams a chance to do that once per game.
Now.
Must be a beach ball or something going on there at the stadium. A nice little roar.
That would be great if the umpire would just call time and they pretend to get a beach ball off the field.
It does sound like a game.
Sounds great. I just need some cutouts behind the home plate.
You don't like seeing
there's a few.
Andrew back
no.
there?
Andrew's there.
I was going to say there were a few, but no, those were real.
Yeah, that's right.
They pulled the tarp back so they could sit there, but we'll see where they put all of the cutouts.
There's Andrew.
Already raised a lot of money for the LA Dodgers Foundation. You can go to Dodgers.com/cutout.
Andrew goes home and watches the replay of this at home, and here's what we have to say. He's going to be upset with his posture.
We'll be texting you. Let me know when I'm going to be on. 2-1 to Jock Peterson. You think he's listening to you call the game here, all with the earbuds? Perhaps listening. What do you think's on his playlist right there?
I don't know what he would do. I bet you it's for phone calls. I don't think it'd be listening to us. He'll get enough of us later.
Or maybe he's in front of a speaker and he just doesn't want to have that blaring in his ear. I don't know. Dustin May paying close attention to Mookie Betts, first base.
We're going to have him on the podcast off air with Joe and Oral, I think, and it'll come out on Thursday. We'll tape it on Wednesday, and we're going to ask him that question. What's on his playlist?
Two and two to Jock.
Dustin May is working this inning. He is working.
He's getting close to throwing more pitches than Walker Buehler did in his two perfect innings.
We've seen that from Dustin May since he's been up in the big leagues, where the moment somebody gets on, all of a sudden his pace really changes, his rhythm. And I think that's something he's going to have to recognize and work on.
He gets a strikeout of Jock Peterson there for out number 2. So good job with a runner at third and less than 2 down to get a punch out.
Because I know as somebody playing behind someone like Dustin May, who has amazing stuff, you see the movement and you see that, and then you're on your toes ready to make a play, and all of a sudden somebody gets on and you're thinking, okay, I can get a double play. He has the movement with his ball, his fastball, to get that double play. He stays down in the zone. then all of a sudden that pace, and he's holding the ball long. Now I'm getting caught on my heel, so now my range diminishes, and now all of a sudden you're feeling that fatigue. So it's just something that, or especially as young as he is, just a reminder, say, listen, don't worry about the pace. I know you're paying attention. Just have that confidence in your stuff and go attack.
Justin Turner up there with 2 on and 2 out. And you've mentioned this before, Nomar. It's tough sometimes as a defensive player to play defense behind someone who is all of a sudden working slowly. Whether it's a mental lapse, you're just wondering, okay, let's speed it up a little bit here.
You also have a rhythm that you're feeling over the course of the game that you go along with the pitcher as far as when he's winding up, when he's going, and then all of a sudden I'm getting my body on my toes ready to react. Well, for example, he might come to a stretch, and now I'm in that position to go react, but he's still holding for a long time, and now I'm fatigued because I'm kind of on the balls of my feet and my toes compared to on my heels or a time to relax because I don't know how long he's going to hold that ball.
Very rarely does someone take more time and have positive thoughts going on.
Exactly. That's the other thing. You usually think
or
that too.
Aggressive thoughts.
Yeah, he's thinking too much, or you can tell that he's worried.
I mean, unless it's a veteran that's using it as strategy to upset a hitter's timing. If somebody young, usually it's because they're really processing, and it's not always positive.
Edwin Rios throws out Justin Turner to end the third, so Dustin May wiggles out of a little jam there. 3-0. Top of the fourth coming up.
Beach ball. That guy's upset about it.
Now, those are some great cutouts right there. I imagine we're going to see some creative ones once they're all placed at Dodger Stadium for the opener. And we'll see how many they have in there for Sunday's first exhibition game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Oral, I know you and Joe will have a chance to be at the stadium for the first time calling a game.
It'll be fantastic. I bought one of the cutouts for my wife today. I think all the Dodger wives should get cutouts and fill the wife sections.
They should. 1-1 to Will Smith. Good breaking ball right there, 1-2. We saw him throw the changeup a few times, Oral, in his last start. Still something that he has tinkered with over the years. Whether we see him use it during the regular season much remains to be seen, but there's a few good ones.
He has been working hard on it. I think he'll bring it into the game. You might see it in a game where this is not working quite as well, and he needs to throw the off-speed pitch. But if the original 4 pitches are working, I don't think you'll see the changeup that often.
It's pretty amazing that he's won as many games and he's done what he's done, and there's still another pitch to develop at this point, which could give another 10 years in the league. Who knows? You change speeds, you got a chance to pitch a long time.
Beginning his 13th season already. Amazing.
Time goes.
169 career victories, 3 Cy Youngs. Not happy with that pitch right there. He struck out 5 of the last 9 batters he's faced since the home run by Will Smith. Closing in on 2,500 strikeouts. 36 shy. And still just 32 years of age. A lot of pitchers are very much in their prime at 32.
You've got the age quotient and you've got the innings under your belt quotient. And both can develop wear and tear. But he has done a great job pitching through, being hurt at times and still pitching. He's had some injuries where he had to shut it down, but he's always worked his way back to being the Clayton Kershaw that we expect out there, even if the tools change a little bit.
So we take a look at his pitch count right now, even though he gave up 3 in the first inning. Batters were swinging at pitches early in counts. There's 17 pitches in that first inning. And there's 47 right now. 2 outs in the fourth.
You hear it all the time with a great starting pitcher. If you don't get him early, you may never get him. It's an example of that tonight. After that first inning, he really calmed it down.
And some of the game's greats very much like that. Kershaw with back-to-back strikeouts here in the top of the fourth. It's Anthony Garcia up there. A good curveball going here recently. It's the last couple of innings.
That's a great sign going into your opening day start to be able to get that breaking ball over. We know how good it is. He's staying down in the zone as he did right there.
And he strikes out the side here in the fourth. Kershaw looking sharp the last 3 innings. Still 3-0 Team Kike going to the bottom of the fourth. 2-run home run to Will Smith in the first inning, but since then, Oral, he has struck out 7 of the last 11 batters and has looked awfully good.
Nomar made the comment earlier that, sometimes you're going to get Clayton. He kind of gets into an outing and the top 3 attack him early. Maybe he gives up a few spot here and there, but boy, he settles in and puts everything else under control.
Yeah, when he finds it, he doesn't lose it. And that's what's so impressive. Now all of a sudden he becomes efficient. He's pounding the zone. He's utilizing all of his pitches. That confidence comes out. And he looks great today.
Yeah, certainly does. Speaking of guys who are trying to find it still, Nomar, I know you've talked a little bit about Cody Bellinger's new setup. There's been a lot of buzz on social media about his stance and his swing, and still trying to get locked in before the season gets underway next Thursday.
Yeah, and I've said there's a difference. The mindset / your approach, what you're thinking, and then your mechanics. Mechanically, we can talk about the setup. I don't mind the setup, but your mechanics don't matter if you don't have the mindset or approach to go with it. And for me, it was always more the mindset and approach that always got him in trouble than it was whatever his mechanics or whatever his setup was.
Yeah. It's 2-2 to Bellinger.
Even in this position that he's in, like I said, I like it because you got the front hips slightly open. The front shoulder is now closed more. But you got to think that I got to stay over the ball and still drive it the opposite way. And then the inside pitch is a react. You react. You don't look for it. And you don't need to drive it because your front hip is open. That's going to allow you to react. So it's not closing you off. But you still have to think about staying through the ball, over the ball, and driving it the other way. His success early last year, he was doing that an awful lot.
One half of his body at setup is built to protect from something, eliminate something, and the other half of his body at setup is ready to launch.
Well, it is, and it's interesting when you close that front shoulder a little bit as you open up the front hip, because you can't have your front shoulder follow the hip because you feel exposed. You think about it, if you're going to open up that front hip just a little bit. But at the same time, you almost create a coil action that you turn tighter like a spring that's ready to release. So in essence, he almost can produce more power from the way that setup is. But like I said, regardless of your setup, if you don't have the proper approach or thought process going through that, it doesn't matter because he's also susceptible to continue to pull out because he's set up to really pull. And that front shoulder flies open and he's in trouble. And we've been seeing that in spring training a little bit.
There's that fine line between overloading because you're trying to protect against something, or loading it so much that you have to spin out now to get because you've overloaded it.
Right, and he's not. That's one good thing. He is not overload. Like I said, it's just a matter of him thinking. And I go back to World Series where he struck out all those times and broke the Major League record for the amount of strikeouts. The one day he didn't and had a few hits, he talked about, I just thought about going there. I've never done that before. I did it in BP. And he got 3 hits, and then he went away from that. It's like, listen, that should tell you something.
Bellinger with a leadoff walk here in the fourth. Chris Taylor stepping in. And a lot of people might say, well, you were so good in the first half of last season, Nomar, and I know you didn't like the second half, but instead of making this, not that it's a dramatic adjustment, but why wouldn't you try to find out what you did in the first half last year and go back to that?
No, that is a very fair question. So now it's just a matter of what he also feels in the box, too. So if there was something that he was doing last year from the second half that he goes, it just doesn't feel right, or he believes that his setup was causing him to do what he's trying to avoid, well, then that's when you make a slight mechanical switch to almost get your mindset back to what you really wanted to do. But I thought the second half, we talked about it a lot, like he looks like he was trying to hit a home run and really go at the home run race rather than what he was doing early on was just about making contact. Didn't matter. He was like, I was not going to, like, almost like he was thinking about, I'm going to cut down my strikeouts. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put the ball in play. I shortened up when there was a 2-strike approach. He was hitting the ball all over, and he was still driving it out of the ballpark.
Oral, as a pitcher, is this something that you would look for in a hitter? And
For sure, Ned. And I used to find it out by watching the batting practice of the opposing team in the locker room, have the cameras focused on the outside the cage and inside the cage, and then when the hitter came out, he would go over and talk to his coach or his teammates, and they would always point at body parts that they're working on, and that would always tell me not only what's the overall scouting report, what's this guy done in the last series, but what's he working on in the cage tonight to know where the hole's going to be.
You've mentioned before, with as much information as out there today, you wouldn't have slept at night as you tried to prepare for your next start.
Yeah, I would have been processing an awful lot and then simplifying it at the end, but they're definitely, to come to that simple answer at the very end of there would have been a lot going on before I got to, okay, I'm going to throw this ball inside.
Gavin Lux up there with 2-1, and Dustin May battling some command issues somewhat here in the bottom of the fourth. Couple of walks to Bellinger and Taylor.
When your command is different from the windup than the stretch, I think you really need to examine what are my legs doing in the windup and what are my legs doing in the stretch. Because the number your stretch mechanics and know what you're doing there as soon as possible so innings don't run out of control on you. So I think with Dustin, a good study of his windup mechanics and his stretch mechanics and how are they slightly different, so that he can be better from the stretch and maybe, like Nomar said the last inning, maybe be a little quicker in between pitches. There might not be that same feel, which slows him down because he's searching for something instead of knowing exactly where he needs to be.
He's ahead of Gavin Lux here, 0-2. Quick chat with Will Smith. Going to get on the same page. Bellinger at second, Chris Taylor at first. Breaking ball is hit on one hop to Kike Hernandez. They go to Seager for one, and they throw over to third. And Edwin Rios slaps the tag on Cody Bellinger. That's a unconventional double play there, turned on the infield.
Unconventional, but good heads up, because I'm sure Bellinger froze on that because he wasn't sure if it was going to be caught or not. And then since it hit the ground, now he's going to third. And that was a great play by the infield. It was one to make the play, but to recognize that where the runner is and to get the lead runner, Bellinger, well done.
great read right there.
Back to your defense, Ned, on the field. You cannot practice that. The game timing and the speed and the decisions you got to make in an instant. I mean, you set that up in infield practice. You motion, go through it. You know exactly what you're going to do. But that's a read, in-game read. That's huge.
You never set up that play like, hey, let's work on this type of double play.
The old 4-6-5.
Yes.
It's all of a sudden 2 outs for Austin Barnes and a runner at first.
Even if you are thinking before the pitch, what do I do if the ball's hit to me?
That's
not even on your top 10.
That play's not in your head. You're like, okay, you're right.
That's not even in my top 10.
But with the shift
you gotta
nowadays,
figure out, as you see the play develop, you got to do it right then and there.
Exactly.
the shortstop practically standing next to second base makes that play possible.
The guys who can't make that read end up as GMs.
Not all of them.
I wish Ned was in studio.
I was going to say something else. But we had a little fun with it last night. We're talking about Jerry.
Oh, okay.
I said when you sign guys like Jerry to 2-year deals, you end up a TV analyst.
He talked about his hot 6 weeks, too. That he could get half for 6 weeks. That says, yeah, it was a shame you spread it over 2 years.
1-1 to Austin Barnes.
Without budget constraints, Ned would have never signed Jerry. He wouldn't have been scraping the barrel.
They ended up signing a broadcaster, as it turned out.
Right. Here's Mays 1-2 to Austin Barnes, grounded to the right side. Kike Hernandez throws him out. So Dustin May, good job after the back-to-back walks to start the inning. 3-0 as we go to the fifth. 4-6-5 double plays turned on the infield. We just saw one.
Well, on this one, you saw Bellinger even take a couple of steps back because as a runner, you say freeze on a line drive, especially with nobody out. I'm in scoring position here, so he goes back, possibly make sure he doesn't get doubled up. Well, then he was just in no man's land. Infielders do a great job aware of that and to get a nice double play.
Good heads-up play there as we see Cody Bellinger moving from center field to first base, and Mookie Betts will be sliding over from right field to play center field. Saw a little bit of this last night. This is Zach Mckinstry. He had a double against Clayton Kershaw his first time up. It's the only hit that Kershaw has allowed since the home run to Will Smith. 7 strikeouts over the course of those 11 batters he's faced.
Guys, I got a question for you. We got the summer camp, which has been a shortened version of spring training. As you look at the minor leagues probably contracting, the draft contracting, do you think after this maybe spring training turns into a 4-week camp? And like back in the 60s, you would start the season with an expanded roster. So maybe you go spring training for 4 weeks and you start with 28, 29 players for a month. You think that may be happening too?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ed. I'm sure from a position player standpoint, you would love it. Yeah. And a lot of players would love to see a shortened spring training. Would they allow it? I don't know because of the games. And it's really, I think, the 6 weeks is more for pitchers now. And also now, guys, you can afford a 4-week spring training because guys are ready now because they're training all year long. So they are prepared for the season to start earlier or to have a shortened one. But I just don't see it happening because of the pitchers.
Yeah, I think pitchers, Ned, I think also for injured players, for the guys that in the first 2 weeks there's an injury. So if you only had a 4-week camp, you might not get those players back. And I always think that baseball wants to dominate the news for those 6 weeks. And you have 6 weeks to get people excited about baseball, for the baseball fan to be watching baseball, and to get your season ticket sales up and your advanced ticket sales up and be in the news and get people excited. So that's a nice 6-week period for baseball to still be very, very popular.
DJ Peters.
Absolutely.
If the position players had a vote, they'd be all for it.
It would.
Well, the position players can have a vote, but we just have to lower their salaries. The pitchers will go for 6 weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
You guys aren't even paid for spring training, are you?
It's amazing, a guy who played 30 days.
35.
Oh, yeah,
most
I mean, the 35, but you know.
And then the playoffs.
Okay.
Give your shoulder up for the city.
Oh, goodness. Can you believe it's been 32 years since you struck out Tony Phillips to end that World Series?
It's been longer to win a world championship than as old as I was when we did it. I was 30 when we did it. We got to do it again. You know, back to Clayton. ERA in the first inning, Gnomes, from your observation, 5.79 last year.
Right.
From every inning after that, 2.52. Yep. And he gives up the 3 spot in the first year.
We've seen that in the last few years for Clayton. It's usually been that first inning, and teams are getting smarter, like, oh, if we're going to get to him, we got to get to him early. You know, don't let him settle in, because when he settles in, well, we're seeing it right now.
And we saw him give up the home run to Will Smith the other way as he gets DJ Peters swinging for his 8th strikeout of the game. Kershaw gave up 28 home runs last year, which is by far the highest number of his career. But then again, everybody was giving up home runs last year because of the baseball. And Justin Verlander, who won the Cy Young in the American League, gave up 36 home runs, 8 more than Kershaw did. By far the most he's ever allowed in his career.
Yeah.
2 down for A.J. Pollock. Struck out looking his last time up. We talked about before the game. AJ met the media today and talked about his battle with COVID-19 about a month ago. Let's check in again with Alana.
Guys, and it was really quite the battle for A.J. Pollock, his wife Kate, and their young daughter Maddie that was born very prematurely. In fact, Kate and Maddie are still in Arizona, Kate having to go to the hospital about 10 hours a day. But A.J. said that his air conditioning unit actually broke and he didn't get any sleep that night. So when he woke up sensing the body aches, he just thought perhaps it was because he didn't receive any sleep. But he started having some headaches, had some body aches, had some congestion. He got tested, found out he was positive for COVID-19. Thankfully, Kate, his wife, and their daughter, Maddie, who again was born very prematurely, did not get COVID-19. However, they had to basically quarantine their daughter and all of the other babies in the NICU and almost wearing hazmat suits going in there as well. He did, however, be able to get a little bit of an escape when he wasn't at the hospital and was able to focus on baseball activities. He has a batting cage at his house in Arizona. He was able to throw. He was able to obviously run and get some hitting in as well. He said it was incredibly frustrating, incredibly scary, but everybody's good. Maddie's trending upward. She's 8 pounds now. Hopefully Kate and Maddie will be able to come to California soon.
Great news for Kate, Maddie, and A.J. Pollock. Pollock goes down looking there to end the 5th inning. It's 3-0, halfway home.
Wait, what? We're not supposed to be on camera right here. You want to toss me one of those little salami there? Is there some cheese?
Oh, man.
Social distancing.
Drop it there for me. Thank you. This is fantastic. Sorry, we're just having a little snack, watching some baseball.
Yep.
Where Spicoli said, learn about Cuba, having some food. We're just watching some baseball, having some food here.
This is the only indoor dining in all of L.A.
Bottom of the 5th, Dustin May out there for his 3rd inning of work. Facing Matt Beatty. Start things here. Thank you, Dana, by the way, for packing a nice little...
He's the best. He's getting a lot of love on there. Social media.
2 MVPs, Chico and Dana.
I miss Chico. Haven't seen Chico the last couple nights.
That'd be a good opening day T-shirt. I miss Chico.
He's already got a bunch of T-shirts that are being sold online, some of them to benefit Justin Turner Foundation. Go to jtfoundation.com to find out more info. Support the charity and also support Chico. Be nice to be able to wear those to the stadium, to some games this year, unfortunately, as we all know.
I thought you meant Chico was going to get some of the money. Support Chico.
It'd be good to get Chico in the game one more time. Wouldn't it? A little standing ovation for him. Is that a great camp?
Let's check in again with Alana.
Guys, actually, Chico is one of the benefactors of the T-shirt sales. He wanted to make sure that he partnered with an organization so he wasn't the only one benefiting from the sales. In fact, Breaking T reached out to Justin Turner's wife, Courtney Turner, about getting a T-shirt with Chico on it, as far as Let Chico Hit and all that type of stuff. And JT's agent was able to get things going as far as the T-shirt was concerned, and the legend of Chico, the number 97 on there. And some of the proceeds do benefit Chico, but they also go to Justin Turner's foundation, as John was mentioning. So it's twofold.
There you go, Earl. So
that's awesome.
Everybody wins. Chico wins. The Justin Turner Foundation wins. We all win because we're going to get some Chico T-shirts, hopefully. Matt Beatty called looking. Luke Raley up there.
Next spring, Chico might have an agent.
Well, we were joking around about it the other day. The way he's played left field, Oral, I know you have the DH this year, but maybe Kershaw goes into Doc's office and says, hey, you know, let me bat. Yeah. Chico can play left field.
Yeah. DH for the left fielder. Kershaw. He pitcher.
Let him hit for himself. I know he enjoys that part of the game. He loves getting into the batter's box, that part of the competition as well. We won't get to see that. We won't get to see Hyun-Jin Ryu, which we wouldn't have anyway because he's in the American League. But no Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, the Dodgers have always had some of the best hitting pitchers and the most entertaining hitting pitchers.
And just imagine Game 2 of the World Series. You had 3 hits. You had 2 doubles. That wouldn't be possible in a season like this right now.
I used to love to watch Fernando hit, Rick Rhoden, Darren Dreifert really hit. Ryu and Rich Hill and Clayton are in another class.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Dustin May here in the bottom of the 5th.
I don't think there's a team in the National League better set up for the DH than the Dodgers. It gives Dave Roberts one more spot to give somebody some playing time, center bats. I don't think there's any team that's set up for it like they are. There's probably some National League teams that weren't even set up for it because of when they figured out they were going to do it.
Because usually when Doc is filling out a lineup, he's probably thinking, gosh, which bat do I take out of the lineup tonight? And now he's going to be able to get an extra one in there. As Dustin May works a quick 1-2-3, bottom of the 5th. 3-0 in favor of Team Kike still as we head to the 6th.
Dodger Stadium is very special to me, and if this 3 months taught me anything, is that I really miss the game. I love baseball. I miss playing. I miss pitching. I miss the guys, and so yeah, it was a great feeling to come back today for sure.
Clayton Kershaw, no doubt, missed the game of baseball a lot. He mentioned that to us when he was on our show back in early April, just how much he actually did miss it. You sit around or you're healthy and the game is taken away from you. Imagine it's a little bit different than when you're hurt. You're just on the DL for a couple of weeks or even a month and the game is taken away from you. But this was a much different circumstance.
It's like forced retirement when you're released and you really can't get another job, but you feel like you're good enough to still play. They've got a taste of retirement mid-career, and I think it's going to bring a lot of energy, and guys that maybe didn't have quite the discipline that they would hope, maybe get more discipline, and it might make an impact on their life and on their careers.
Kike Hernandez hits one deep to right center field, and that one leaves the yard. Kike, the second night in a row, helping his own team with a home run, this time going the other way off of Clayton Kershaw.
Ball still have some carry.
I was going to say, have you noticed in these games you have a read on the baseball?
Yeah, there have been some hits where I'm going, okay, that one might get to the wall. That was just underneath it, and then they carried out. There have been a couple that have carried out of the ballpark.
That one looked like it got in on him a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like Kike didn't think that was going to leave the way he reacted immediately at the plate, but it sailed over that right center field wall to make it 4-0.
That's going to go out.
Well, we remember last year when Jock Peterson had that one in San Diego at Petco Park.
Right.
And he popped it up down the left field line, and he was upset with himself. Home run. We'll see more of that this season. And if there's ever a season, we talked about this and maybe joked about it a few nights ago, if there's ever a season to go back to that juice baseball we saw last year, maybe it is in a 60-game sprint.
Yeah, they didn't change them up. Whatever they had left over, they added to it. It's the same.
They took them away for the postseason.
Yeah, exactly.
Different baseball last October. Otherwise, Will Smith's fly ball he hit in that Game 5 of the NLDS against the Nationals would have been a walk-off. I think everybody thought that was gone. The Dodger players were coming over the railing, getting ready to celebrate. Regular season ball, Dodgers advanced to the NLCS. Postseason baseball, the Nats did.
More conspiracy theories.
Game of what if. Two and one to Max Muncy with one out here in the 6th. The team manager, Kike Hernandez, swinging a hot bat the last couple nights. Trying to sweep Team Turner.
Great pitch right there by Clayton. Tough for a left-handed hitter to handle that.
He's still got good life. We don't have the radar gun on him, but I would say that he's above 90 miles an hour.
Big breaking ball right there. That one is just foul down the right field line.
His command tonight has been outstanding. And really, the curveball has been, it's like a typical July start for Clayton Kershaw. Typical regular season start with that great curveball. So he's looking pretty good for Thursday.
He has not walked anybody. It's 9 strikeouts. As we often see against Clayton Kershaw, batters being aggressive, swinging the pitches early in counts. They don't want to get behind and deal with public enemy number 1. Max Muncy drives that one to right field. This one stays in the yard. Luke Raley has it for out number 2.
2 guys upset on that fly out. Max missing a hanging slider, and Clayton Matt through on the top of the baseball to make that slider go down, get some more extension.
Took him 91 pitches to get through 5 innings and faced a batter into the 6th inning last time, but much more efficient night so far.
Went right back to the slider, made a good adjustment right there. It was down where he wanted it.
One and one to Will Smith.
So 91 pitches in his last outing, looking to maybe expand on that pitch count. Right about here, where you are in your development as far as your endurance, you could be hitting a little bit of a wall where you've got to make a little adjustment to then push through that wall and extend to 100 pitches, 110 pitches if you needed to. There is a wall there. Sometimes it hits you in the regular season in the 4th inning. Sometimes it hits you in the 6th. Just depends on how efficient you've been, how much the hitters have made you work. Sometimes it doesn't even have anything to do with pitch count. It just has to do with being up, being down, how your cardio's going, what kind of night is it. But you definitely feel one inning where all of a sudden your energy's different. You've got to go to a different gear for a little bit.
As good as his command has been, we've just seen 3 straight breaking balls there. 1 that missed high and then 2 that fell short. So you're right. He might be hitting that wall a little bit right now and going to have to push through it a little bit deeper.
About to throw his 80th pitch of the night.
Everyday player, Nomar, do they hit a wall in a game or they hit a wall in portions of the season?
Portions of the season. The time you really, it's more that than it is in a game. I think you might feel like a wall a little bit because the rhythm may have changed over the course of the game. Just like I think that's why I was talking about. I recognize when pitchers sometimes working slow. That's when you're like, oh, it was going so well. Then all of a sudden it just slowed down. So I think the rhythm of the wall is what you feel over the course of a game from a position player. But as that wall you're talking about from a pitcher, just from that physical, it'll be some points during the season.
And does it last just for a game, or it could last for a series or a week?
It could last a series. It could last a week. It could last. That's when you hear the dog days of August.
Heavy legs.
Those are real. Yeah.
Feel weak.
Exactly. You're pressing a lot. Sometimes you just maybe need a day, and it's not only just physical but more mental sometimes, and that helps you.
10th strikeout of the night for Clayton Kershaw, getting Will Smith, but he gave up a solo shot to Kike Hernandez, 4-0.
For centuries, the Black...
Such a great and powerful message, and Dave Roberts said yesterday it was Clayton Kershaw, some of the other leaders on the team, they wanted to put that video message together, and Nomar thought that was really wonderfully done.
It was, and it is an incredible message. I did an interview one time early on with Petros and Money, and they were asking about, well, in the locker room, the moments like this, when they were showing the protests, when you guys talk about this? And I'm like, yeah, you do. In the locker room, you do. And I said, but the problem, and I recognized after I did the interview, I said, the problem is Why do we have to wait for an incident to talk about it? Because when there was no incident, we didn't talk enough about it. And that's where the problem, problem that I had and flaw on my part, that we all need to be talking about when there is no incident so we can really take care of it.
Amen.
Yeah, I called a lot of my black friends and retired athletes that I played with that were black when things kind of broke out. And I said, I failed you. And they said, what did you fail me? And I said, I did not know that when you guys kind of gathered around, maybe during BP or shagging or in the locker room or in the food room, that you were carrying something and you could only talk to your black brothers about it because you didn't want to bring it into the rest of the locker room because you knew we had to win. So you were carrying something more than we were just carrying into the locker room as far as, oh, we're just part of this team. And so I said we could have been better at being more open and realizing what you were carrying so we could have also been there and become more sensitive to the days when you were having a rough day. You know, if they had been pulled over or something had happened in their family where something had gone wrong that shouldn't have. And I said, I wish we could have had a more open clubhouse as far as just being available to them. Right. To relieve that pressure and be better teammates.
And hopefully all those conversations are ongoing now in this different age that we're all living in.
Doug Glanville is writing some great articles for ESPN. Harold Reynolds is doing some great work with MLB. There's some great stuff out there as far as interviews and articles to really enlighten you to the load that these guys have carried and that others have carried.
Right. When I said that, shame on myself, shame on us not talking about it when there is no incident. That dawned on me more when it was the conversation I believe Tim Rosenthal had with like Torrey Hunter,
yes,
and Ryan Howard and LaTroy Hawkins.
Yep.
I mean that one hit me.
Dontrell Willis,
and I was just going, man, that's where definitely we all, and myself included, should have been talking about it more at the dinner table.
I miss Don Newcomb pretty much every day, and Nuke and I had many conversations around this topic. He was somebody who had dinner with Dr. King, and of course was a roommate of Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella, teammates. And to go back to that period of time in this country, and that we're still working towards it. We really need to, as you said, Nomar, talk about it without an incident. Work on it every day, every single day.
Justin Turner skies one to left field. Zach Mckinstry has it for the second out here in the bottom of the sixth. Clayton Kershaw's night is done, by the way. Dylan Floro is warming up in the bullpen.
Clayton threw the ball very well. I know he's got the 4 spot up there, but the accuracy there, the strikeout pitches were there, the curveball was there. 3 of the 4 runs came via the home run, and last year, over 60% of the runs that he gave up were by home run. So that's one thing that he's still going to concentrate on, I know. But if there's anybody that can concentrate on that, and also, if it happens, settle down and still give you some length and give you a chance to win, it's Clayton Kershaw.
We've talked about this a little bit as well. So if Kershaw's night is done, or when it's done, as a pitcher, what would you normally do for your post-game treatment that maybe some of these guys won't have a chance to do with the COVID-19 regulations that they're going to be dealing with?
I think they're getting a lot of the treatment that they want, I would say almost all of it. They're just not getting it in the timing because there's rules about who can be on the training table, and then it has to be clean, and how far apart are the training tables. Who can go into the sauna? They can't use the sauna, but they can use the whirlpool, but it has to be emptied out completely of water and then refilled for the next guy. So you might have had a sequencing before of treatment prior to the game and treatment after the game, that all of a sudden that sequencing could get thrown off as far as, your healing and what would be ultimate.
It's 4-0 as we head to the 7th. Dylan Floro about to come into the game. Well, we see Clayton Kershaw back out there to start the 7th inning. He did this in his last outing where he pitched to a batter in the 6th. Also, he gets a chance to another up and down where he's throwing the 8 warm-up pitches again and maybe face a batter or two.
I'm really impressed at the shape he came into camp in, to be able to do this with one outing to go, this one to extend himself. But this is not the outing to extend where you really push yourself and then you get a little stiffness going into opening day. You know, in a regular spring training over 6 weeks, the last outing is just more about exercise than it is endurance. You know, your second to last outing, you might go 6 or 7 innings, and then the last outing before your opening day start or your first start of the year, you back off to maybe 4 innings and just get some exercise. But with this short time frame, you're really still building right into the season and right up to the last outing of this spring training 2.0.
0-2 on Edwin Rios. He has the 10 strikeouts tonight in 6 innings of work. He's gotten Edwin Rios twice. He will have 5 days off before he starts against the Giants on Thursday. Had 4 days off in between these intra-squad starts.
If you watch Clayton's body language now in between pitches, he's frisky. It's like a marathoner, and you know you've got that last mile and you just start picking it up. He knows this is the end. Compared to the inning before where we saw the wall and he was kind of sluggish and missing, he's going to put a little pep in his step here. He's looking at the finish line. So he's right back to the rubber, get the ball, here we go. Looking around, here we go. Getting the feel of the ball in his hand, get on the rubber, and let's do it. It's not the same pacing it was the other inning.
2-2 to Edwin Rios.
There's a little tempo change, though. A little mad about that curveball not landing.
Got the 10 punch-outs tonight. 4 ground-outs. Saw him last year. He's getting a lot more ground ball outs. Kind of part of the evolution of Clayton Kershaw.
The percentage of breaking balls over the last 5 years has really gone up, and that slider does produce a lot of ground balls.
And he gets Edwin Rios swinging for the 3rd time tonight. Strikeout number 11 for Clayton Kershaw.
Really good fastball here. Got out away from him just a little bit. Had thrown him a lot of curveballs, a lot of breaking balls throughout the at-bats tonight. But finished him off there with a fastball to the outer half. Pretty smart pitching for Clayton.
The last pitch had some giddy up there, John.
Yeah, it did.
He had really good extension. The back leg flew off the rubber. He got down the hill, and the follow-through was actually a little bit of a twisting motion to show how much energy he put into that pitch.
To run back and get his rosin bag. Every pitcher responsible for their own.
I hear Tony Gonsolin has asked for crushed kitty litter in his bag instead of rosin.
That wouldn't surprise anybody. As we see Dylan Floro now.
Only on Catterday.
Let's take a look at some of Kershaw's night. We mentioned the 11 strikeouts. He got Edwin Rios 3 times.
He really had the breaking ball working tonight. It was a sharp, late break, especially to those righties. He was getting it right where he wanted, underneath those hands to get those swings and misses. And then when you're looking breaking ball, to get that fastball in there and freeze you on a pitch.
And I will be interested once we get to Thursday night to see the radar gun on Clayton, because of the last 2 or 3 intra-squad games we've seen him, there has been, at least appearing to us on television, a lot of life to that fastball.
Spring training 1.0, the velocity was there. It was back up a mile an hour or 2 compared to where he had been, where every year he had kind of lost a mile an hour. In spring training 1.0, he had gone up about 2 miles an hour. So the work he put in at drive line and in the offseason, straighten out a few things, I think he and Mark Pryor are going to see some good results, and he's going to be able to change speeds this year a little bit more between the differential and the fastball slider and the fastball curveball.
Dylan Floro takes over. This game is scheduled to go 8 innings. Maybe Floro pitches the rest of the 7th inning. Caleb Ferguson also scheduled to throw for the home side. Justin May will be followed by Josh Spores for the blue jerseys. Let's see Mookie and Jock and Luke Raley.
Now batting, number 72, Anthony Garcia.
Anthony Garcia stepped to the plate to face Dylan Floro. He swings to the first pitch. That one is driven to the gap in right center. One hop off the wall. And Anthony Garcia has himself a double.
It's a nice swing by Garcia. And this ball, they wanted on the outer half, and it ended up tailing back over the middle of the plate. He does a good job driving that ball to right center, staying inside it.
Oral for Dylan Floro to get back to the guy that we saw at the end of 2018 after he came over from Cincinnati. What would you like to see from him that's different maybe in 2020 as opposed to last year?
He's working a few things out in his mechanics, and that will lead to consistency, and that's what we saw. We saw this guy who consistently could really dot it up, could spin the baseball, could change eye level, and work both portions of the plate. He's able to do that, but it's one thing to do it, let's say, 7, 8 out of 10 pitches. It's another thing to do it when you drop down to a percentage of about 6 out of 10 pitches. You're giving the hitter one more mistake during an at-bat to hit, and that's really what's hurting. I mean, Nomar has talked about it all the time when he watches at-bats, and you know, the batter's up there for 4 to 6 pitches, and if you got one pitch to hit in 4 to 6 compared to 2 pitches to hit in 4 to 6, completely different at bat and comfort.
It really is. You're going, oh, that was the one. Especially when you see guys that are on.
And then you get another one.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I hope he misses with that pitch again. And they do. And you're like, thank you. Yeah, it's totally different.
That's the difference between like elite and good big leaguer.
Well, he was pretty elite for the Dodgers in 2018, a 1.6 ERA in 29 games. And last year, ERA is 4.24, pitching in 50 games. So shaking his head a little bit right there. Does get a first pitch strike to DJ Peters.
When he was really effective, when I recall, the slider was really good. It was a swing and miss slider. Started off in the middle of the plate to a right-handed hitter, ended up out of the zone, almost at the feet. Or ground level, and last year left a little bit too many of those over the middle of the plate.
Well, we know this. Nothing is ever straight coming out of his hand. Ball's always moving. 1-2 on Peters. We're in the top of the 7th inning. Sunday night, Dodgers and Diamondbacks. There's a chance to see Arizona. DJ Peters swings and misses, so Dylan Floro comes in, gives up a double and a couple of quick outs. We're through 6.5. It is 4-0. Team Kike on top. Even with no fans in the stands, Oral, you're going to get used to this when you're at Dodgers Stadium. They do take me out to the ball game. We do 7th inning stretch, so all the cardboard cutouts need to stand up, stretch their legs, their arms.
So they don't have the cardboard cutouts with the mouths moving as they were singing it, just kind of
They want it to feel like a regular season baseball game in as many ways as they possibly can. Bruce Taylor leads it off in the bottom of the 7th inning.
They're going to do everything they can to make this entertaining and fun above and beyond the great play on the field, but it will never be like when the fans are there. It's such a dimension now that the players will never be able to deny, I don't need the fans. They need them. It's awesome. It makes it that special.
Corey Seager throws out Chris Taylor, and I know if you're standing out there, you might see some cardboard cutouts, but at Dodger Stadium, you can look up in that third and fourth deck and just see all the people, and you won't have that opportunity to do this year.
It's an amazing energy.
Crowd noise is piped in.
Amazing energy. And Nomar did it standing at shortstop. I did it standing on the mound, and that noise just hits you on the chest. You feel the emotion of 50,000 people cheering you on.
Gavin Lux has a base hit going the other way. One out single. No hecklers.
Those were inspiring also. I pre-played hecklers. I pre-played people cheering for me. Both lead to an emotion, and it's our job as athletes to figure out what to do with that emotion, and I try to do it in advance.
And there are certain hecklers, Nomar, you said, who were respectful, that you actually liked, and they were pretty funny. And
they were, yes. There was and then you play places where there are no fans too, so there are a couple places in the league that are exactly like this, and and the couple that do show up, I remember the one heckler that was there. I remember in Tampa. Oh my gosh, he was unbelievable, and you could hear him and he sat right behind home plate. And you would come into the series going, gosh, I hope he doesn't pick me. I hope he doesn't pick me.
He always picked one guy, right?
Whoever he picks, you're going, oh, this is hilarious.
For the whole series?
And he was respectful, clean, but wow, did he ride you. It was awesome.
Philadelphia and New York seem to be the most vulgar, but also very creative. Boston, the accents, they cracked me up to hear the accents and then when I finally established myself and I was doing pretty well, somebody leaned over the bullpen one time when I was warming up, and I wanted to come up with a comeback because with my name, you didn't have to be that creative. The guy yelled, "What kind of a name is Oral?" And after, I think I was 19-3 the year before, I yelled back, "Famous!"
That's a good one.
That is good.
But I always tried to, once I heard one and one got me, I went home that night and always tried to think of the best comeback. So if I ever heard it again, I was right on it.
So you couldn't wait. Just I dare you.
That's great.
And it'll be Dodgers Giants next Thursday, and it won't have that same kind of energy being a big rivalry game. And I imagine, Nomar, you played in a lot of Yankees, Red Sox games as well. Just not having those fans there, it'll be so different for these big rivalry games.
A lot different. It really is. It really will. There's rivalry. Yes, right? We throw that word. I always say they throw that word around way too much.
Right.
Because they want to, you want to create one. Rivalry has history. So those types of series, Giants, Dodgers, you're going to feel it because of the history, but you really feel it when the fans are there.
Yeah.
Because it's a much bigger deal to the fans than it is the players.
It's a big deal
It's still
to the players.
a big deal to the players, but the rivalry isn't quite as intense. That the fans might have 30, 40, 50 years invested in the heated rivalries there. We are through 7, 4-0. Team Kike still on top. Top of the 8th inning at Dodger Stadium. Dylan Floro is back out there. Let's check in right now with Ned.
You guys talk about rivalries. Well, I was part of the Giant-Dodger rivalry for 25 years on both sides of it. And the Giants, they hate coming into L.A. Really, the bullpen hates it because the fans are right on top of them, and the Dodger fans let them have it. And the same thing when you went the other way before they moved the bullpens at now it's called Oracle Field. At one point in time, we had a pitcher reliever that was a little bit overweight, a little bit bigger than he probably needed to be. And he used to say that it was unmerciful. Fans all day long. Hey, how about mixing in a salad? Hey, Slim Fast. Hey, But it's all a great part of the game. But I think the bullpens probably take most of the abuse throughout the course of a game.
Yeah.
When you think of where they're located, they're right within earshot of a lot of people.
Well, and Ned, you were up there when they opened up that new stadium, when it was a new stadium, and just a little oversight, they forgot about the bullpens. Like, oh, wait, where do we put the bullpens? Well, we got to stick them over here just on the side of the field. And finally, this year, they've moved the bullpens out of the field of play. They will be beyond the center field wall. But for a lot of years, those Giants fans were sitting right on top of those Dodger relievers.
It was like the first week of March in 2000, the year the ballpark opened, and they came down to Scottsdale where we're having spring training, and they showed us the plans, and Brian Saban and I had spent many days in there as they were building the stadium, but hadn't been there for about a month because of camp. And we're looking at the drawings, and we're going, what about a bullpen? And they all looked and said, oh, a bullpen? I said, yeah, we're going to probably need a bullpen, you know? And so then, you know, it was kind of a last-minute deal. They said, well, we're going to have to put them here for a little while. A little while turned out to be 20 years. But, yeah, it was one of those deals. You know, bullpen, pitchers used to warm up between the dugout and home plate in foul territory. Now I'm really dating myself now. I didn't necessarily see that.
I remember going to those games, Ned, and watching starting pitchers warm up down, out in front of the dugout.
Yes.
And the reason the bullpen was invented, the name bullpen, was because they used to warm up in front of the bullpen tobacco sign out in the outfield.
I did not know that.
Yep. I think there was a tobacco back in the day called bullpen tobacco. And it ended up being the bullpen where you warm up. They built it out there by the sign.
We just saw Terrence Gore. He was pinch hitting. Been added to this roster. Struck out looking, didn't like the call against Dylan Flores. So back to the top of the order, and A.J. Pollock.
Rumor has it that when they designed the original Dodger Stadium, that they forgot the locker rooms. That's why they were so skinny. They had to put them in the the exits of where the fans would have gone out with earthquakes or fires. That's serious. Think about all that room on the stadium. I'm serious. Those locker rooms were really narrow.
Feel like American Legion ball if you dress it in the car.
There you go.
We have to do some research on that.
Wow.
That was always a rumor when guys would tease us about how small the locker room was originally.
Is this an afterthought?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how about the old visiting clubhouse at Wrigley Field?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, especially when you played there in September and you had expanded rosters.
Oh, no chance.
You couldn't play, if that was still around, you couldn't play baseball there because of the virus. You couldn't social distance in that clubhouse.
You get about 7 people in there.
If you're lucky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking about a room that probably was 20 by 45, and you're putting 25 guys, clubhouse guys, managers, coaches.
A lot of those older stadiums as A.J. Pollock drives one to right field. Luke Raley has it bang off that short wall. And A.J. Pollock has a one-out double. Let's check in with Alana.
Guys, going back to the bullpen theory, this is the one that I've heard most often. In the 1800s, a few innings after a game started, fans could get tickets at the box office for a big discount. But cheap tickets came with kind of a catch. You had to stand in a roped-off area off to the side of the field in foul territory. So the fans were treated a bit like cattle in a pen. With this area became the spot where pitchers warmed up when that happened. Once the relievers became the part of that pen, the name stuck. That's what I had heard.
Now, wait a minute.
I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I'm going with that.
Wait a minute. Did you hear that, or did you quick go to your phone and start looking stuff up?
No comment.
That's what I had heard.
Oh, You'd heard. Just like you had heard about your theory.
I didn't say that it was right. I said that's what I had
My
heard.
was from my head. Her heard seemed like it came from a reed.
Why are you throwing me under the bus, Bulldog?
I am not throwing you under the bus, but if I was, I'd back it back up also.
Too early in the season for that.
I have also heard of the Bull Durham tobacco theory, but the first one I heard many moons ago was that they were like cattle in a pen.
Okay.
A bullpen.
We're going to have
Big
a Twitter
time.
poll.
Cy Young Award winner.
Going to have to go. Is she getting tired of doing Intrasquad games?
A lot of people at home are going, hey, Google.
Hey, Google.
I think Alana makes a little bit more sense, actually. I don't know.
That's enough out of you, Ned.
cut his mic.
About fans on the field in Chicago years ago, before interleague play, they used to have a benefit game in the middle of the summer where the Cubs would play the White Sox. And they always played it at night, and Wrigley Field didn't have lights until 1988. So all the games were at Comiskey Park then, the old Comiskey. And they had so many fans show up for these games that they actually put fans on the warning track. And this is not that long ago. This is probably in the 60s and the 70s. That they'd have 55,000 at Old Comiskey, and they'd have so many people, they'd rope off the warning track, and there was no sign there for the bullpen. They just roped up the warning track and put fans out there.
I'm learning a lot of great stuff tonight, by the way.
Back in Vero Beach,
I was saying,
played
Vero
spring
Beach,
training games. There was the fans up on the hill.
Yeah, there was
the
no
outfield
fence
was no
out there,
fence. There was the hill. When the fans would sit out there on the hill, the ball rolled into the fans. That was a ground rule double.
Help us out. Throw it back. Relay.
Yeah. Be like Arnold Palmer's Army. They always say that Arnold ball, even when he hit it left or right, always find its way back to the fairway. Fans would kick it back on the fairway.
Meanwhile, Kike Hernandez, the player manager, the MVP of this 3-game series, delivers again. RBI double to the gap in right center. It's a single, a homer, and a double.
Well, I thought it was also a good at bat and then nice to see for A.J. Pollock to get that hit, go the other way and drive it. And now Kike Hernandez doing the same thing, going in the gap and driving it. Kike Hernandez, this spring training, this summer camp, has really had a real nice approach at the plate, utilizing the whole field.
Just one thing for... Sorry, Ned, go ahead.
Good. I think we've seen a lot of hitters go the opposite way in these scrimmages. A lot of them. Corey Seager's gone the opposite way many, many times. We just saw back-to-back hits there by right-handed hitters. We saw the home run to right by Will Smith. I see a lot of players going the opposite way, which I always see as a good sign to guys using the whole field.
It's one thing to have a guy that is pull happy and pulls the front shoulder, and then he goes the opposite way, and you go, oh, that's good. That's where he needs to be. It's another thing to watch him continue to repeat it like Kike.
And especially when you're driving the ball or feeling good, when you're like in a hitter's count and you're not getting big and still going the other way, those are all really good signs that you're staying on the ball.
Corey Seager lifts that one to center field. Mookie Betts has it for the second out. And Nomar, didn't you say back when you were playing spring training games, your favorite at-bat was a line out to second?
Yes. When I hit a line drive or a one-hopper to the second baseman and I was out, I'm like, perfect. I don't want to hit too many hits in spring training. It's an out, but I want to stay right there. I'm on the ball, seeing it, and that means my swing is going through the zone exactly the way I want it to.
Then you can have time. You go back to the bench and you research how the bullpen was named.
Yeah.
We just need to find the actual answer. We've got a couple of competing theories.
There are
I think everybody's
Go ahead, Nedley.
I think everybody's competing with John's comment about Mookie Betts and royalty, the connection there. I think that kind of put us all on a course tonight to say, wow, we got some big shoes to fill here with that one.
Well, I remember they posted that on Instagram last year.
I thought that was something that you heard.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can see me over here Googling it while... Yeah.
So they posted it on Instagram?
No, it was last summer when the Red Sox were playing the Yankees in London, and I remember somebody posted a picture of Mookie with Meghan Markle, and that was the first time I'd heard the story. And so then I wanted to look it up.
You've been waiting a year to use that, John.
I have been, Ned. Long time.
They'll invite you to dinner as well, John.
Have you guys ever met royalty?
Wow.
No.
Yeah, the president,
the president,
not
state dinner, but
not from the UK.
Royalty in other countries? No more, like Prince of Monaco or anything?
Huh. I've been in the same building as him.
When Mia has taken you to one of those
she gets
soccer
honored,
meetings?
Yeah. Sure, yes, I have been around royalty when every day when I'm at home with Mia.
That's royalty.
That is true. I know Ned's been watching The Crown a lot, so he's been learning a lot about the royal family. Ned, have you ever met anyone of royalty?
No, I've met a couple presidents of the United States before, but no royalty. They don't let guys like me get close to people like that.
Sir Elton John.
Yeah.
Dylan Floro strikes out Max Muncy to end the top of the 8th. Another run across for Team Kike, now 5-0. Josh Spores taking over here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Oral, what do you see from Josh Spores in his early years and last season, especially when he came up with the Dodgers?
The first thing I noticed is he did a nice job over the break as far as his body. He looks stronger in the lower half. He looks like the chest and the back are stronger, and that can only lead to better endurance and maybe some more stability in the delivery where you can repeat it some more. And that is the key when almost any pitcher takes the mound. Once you figure out who you are as a pitcher and get your mechanics, it's leading to consistency and repeating, and I think that's what Josh is looking for. Good fastball, good life on the fastball, good breaking ball. It's just landing them in the appropriate spot at the appropriate time.
Well, we may play 9 innings. We expect to at least have a top half of the 9th inning as Caleb Ferguson is warming up. Kershaw went 6 1/3. Dylan Floro going an inning and 2/3. So Caleb Ferguson needs work. We're going to have at least a top of the 9th. And maybe Spores goes 2 innings and we go the distance tonight. We will all find out.
We got the bottom of the 8th inning. Right fielder number 62.
It'll be Luke Raley, followed by Mookie Betts and Jock Peterson.
This 3-game series has been Kike Hernandez against Justin Turner as far as captains, and I think Kike, with just his RBIs in the 3 games, would beat Justin's whole team. I think in the 3 games they've only scored 2 runs.
That is correct.
Am I repeating something you said earlier?
No, you're not.
No, but there was also a time where they had a chance to open up some innings where the bases were loaded, and they were like, okay, let's switch pitch count and everything. So that happens in these. So, just
you should have to trade that out to change sides, maybe for 2 runs. Say you want to do that? At least 1 run.
Well, it's not Mookie Betts. First, we're going to see Rocky Gale getting an at-bat here. Let's see if Mookie does take a 4th at-bat after Rocky Gale.
Rocky working really hard to find a swing that he can make better contact just to give himself a chance. It looks like his stance is different this year. Hands a little farther away from the body, a little bit more crouched.
And there he is. So Mookie Betts will get a 4th plate appearance tonight.
Like Mookie's getting a little bit of a scouting report from Mark Pryor.
what's your pitcher have?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't faced this guy.
Where does he make his mistakes? So what part of the plate? Yeah, what have you been working on in the bullpen?
I would say
what are you having trouble with right now?
I'm like, Mookie, you can hit anybody. Don't worry about it.
3-1 to Gale. Josh Spores, now 26 years of age, drafted 5 years ago out of Virginia after winning the College World Series championship.
Yet another event called off this year, the College World Series.
Gale lines out to Edwin Rios for out number 2 in the bottom of the 8th. One of many.
Center fielder number 50, Mookie Betts.
I don't know if we will see college football in the fall. I know some of the conferences have already talked about playing conference games only. But even that seems kind of iffy at this point. But here's Mookie. We talked about this a little bit last night, Nomo. I don't know if you would like to just put Mookie in that leadoff spot and keep him there for every single game, whether it's right-hander or left-hander? Because we know Jock Peterson, when he's leading off against right-handers, how many leadoff home runs he's had, how many times he's given the Dodgers a quick 1-0 lead.
Right. I think Dave Roberts is going to factor in how he's going to have to keep guys relevant, is the term he always uses. So I think that might come into play. We've seen how they really like to change their lineups based on that righty-lefty matchup. Also, honestly, the DH changes things a lot.
Yeah.
And not only just because I think it's also harder to get playing time, because in the American League, you often find these guys who are utility guys, or they don't play very much because it's usually just the starters that they run there out there. I think he's going to use that as a challenge, and also to get guys at bats. Because he has some options. But if Mookie feels comfortable leading off all the time and he's doing well, you leave him there.
And I imagine it's a lot different being a leadoff guy with the pitcher in front of you as opposed to someone that the Dodgers are going to have in that ninth spot.
It is so different. The big innings are huge. Also, you have the potential as a leadoff guy to really drive in a lot of runs. I mean, I had nearly 100 RBIs as a lead when I led off my rookie year, and that's because those guys at the end of the lineup were on base an awful lot.
Yeah. Those two guys, one or the other, what happened here to Mookie? Something happened to his hand. His left hand, maybe?
Let's see. Take a look at that swing again. Kind of see him grimace a little bit. He's back up there. We were watching closely. Seems to be okay.
He looked all right there.
So, with those two guys you're talking about at the top of the order, possibly, there's only one of the two that you would actually pinch hit for late in the game or in the middle of the game. That's Jock.
Right.
So I would be studying also who are the setup guys of the opponent and the closer of the opponent, and who do you want to come up in the ninth against possibly those guys, because you're going to use an extra player if it's Jock there and they bring in I know we're not going to play him, but Josh Hader or somebody like that, or a dominant left-handed setup guy or closer, compared to. Doesn't matter if it's right-hander or left-hander deep in the bullpen. Mookie's going to be hitting no matter what.
We have our first fan cutout that's been hit by a foul ball, at least that we've seen.
Are they going to be able to pipe in, when they hit a foul ball and the second row? And if it hits and it lands back in the first row, you go, oh, because the fan didn't catch it.
Right.
Like, oh, you had it.
They have to have all those tracks ready.
Well, how about the sound that you get when Pantone 294 goes on the road and, the home team's getting cheering, but then they out-cheer them.
Yes. Mookie Betts goes down swinging, but we saw Mookie foul one off. And Nomar, watch. Oh, there it is.
Oh, boy, in the back of the head. How about a little help?
Pay attention.
You got to watch for the ricochet if you're a fan of the game, always. Kike, look at Kike out there with the broom, going for a 3-game sweep of Team Justin Turner, leading this one 5-0. And Kike's done a lot of the heavy lifting in this little 3-game series. A grand slam last night, a homer, single, RBI double tonight. Breaking out the brooms. And the Buzzers dugout.
Graduated from the banana costume to the broom.
Oh, that is funny.
He's become a big game player, hasn't he? Even in the squad.
Well, he admits this. He came into the season knowing this was a big year for him. Free agent to be after the season. Looked good during spring training. He's been awfully good.
We can nickname his mustache the Broom.
The Broom.
Broom was helping his posture there.
Number 16, Will.
It's Caleb Ferguson taking over, pitching the top of the ninth. Just making sure Justin can see the Broom. tough to sweep a team in a 3-game series, especially a team that has Mookie Betts, JT, Jock Bellinger, and has Kershaw starting. There's a base hit by Will Smith. Also, they're playing the extra inning rule here. They didn't tell us. This is the extra inning rule. They start with a runner on second base. And that was Terrence Gore scoring on the double by Will Smith.
43, Edwin Rios.
So we will see this during the regular season, not during the postseason, but in extra innings.
When I see a young guy slice the ball down the right field line like that, it reminds me of Kyle Farmer.
Oh, his first hit?
Yeah.
Against the Giants.
Every time I see a line drive from a young guy, right-hander, down the line, it's like, okay, that's Kyle.
Sunday night.
If you have, now that there's a DH, pitcher's not hitting. But are the pitchers still working? Usually, pitchers are oftentimes better bunters than position players because they usually work, especially in the National League, because that's what they're asked to do all the time, and they practice a lot more than
leading off the 10th.
Well, I'm just wondering, when you get into extra innings, are the pitchers going to still be practicing bunting? I'd recommend that they do, because there may be a time when when you need that bunt, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pinch hit maybe a Kershaw, somebody who you feel comfortable getting that bunt down compared to some of those position players.
And you might need the hitter to be the next hitter.
Exactly
to
right. Exactly right. And you can do that because you don't. Once again, you don't have to worry about double switches because this is American League rules, which is why I like the National League, because there's so much more strategy going on with those double switches and the value of some of these utility guys compared to what you would see in the American League game with the DH. But it'd be interesting to see how many.
Kersh would be the guy in all the games that he wasn't pitching.
Edwin Rios hits that one sharply on the right side, finds a hole through the shift. Will Smith will put on the brakes coming around third. So a double by Will Smith, single by Edwin Rios against Caleb Ferguson.
We've seen a lot of great at-bats for Rios against left-handed pitching in the last week or so. He stays in there. He's not shy of it. He attacks it. This kid is going to be a really good player. Love to see a young player, left-handed hitter, take on left-handed pitching.
Does have a home run against Clayton Kershaw during these intra-squad games. 3 home runs total for Edwin Rios. Anthony Garcia stands in there, first and third. It's an interesting year. It'll be unlike anything we've ever seen with the extra inning rule, starting runners at second base.
DH in the National League.
DH in the National League.
3-batter minimum for the reliever. They say 3-batter minimum for the relievers. Does that, if you used an opener, does he have to go 3 batters? Does your starter have to go 3 batters?
All pitchers, yeah.
All pitchers. So yeah, the starter has to. Very interesting.
I know you're not a fan of it all. I think a lot of managers, if you talk to them, probably feel the same way.
I think 2 motives for them to do it: speed up the game and also increase offense. But I think there's other ways to speed up the game, and I'm not sure you want to take that strategy and that armchair quarterback away from fans and everybody else to discuss the whole strategy of removing a player, removing a pitcher, using a pinch hitter.
Yeah,
I mean, intrigue.
I agree. I think that has been part of it. That's why you have certain guys when you're creating your roster, and you have to decide, well, do I want to keep that left-handed specialist on a lot of times for that one batter, or this one righty who I just really want that I can count on to get that ground ball, maybe a potential double play and face this one batter, whatever it may be, that's gone. And if they're saying because speed up the game, I agree with you, Oral. There are other ways to do it, and better ways.
Every sport has got its strategy. No sport has as much as baseball. I think anytime you take away the strategy of a great game like this, I think you're probably doing a bit of a disservice. I think if pitchers threw more strikes, I think the games would be faster.
Then you should expand the strike zone.
Yep.
Coming from a pitcher.
Yep.
Bases loaded here for Zach Mckinstry. Well, in Jason Stark's article in The Athletic going back to spring training where he was talking to several managers about the 3-batter minimum rule, and some of the managers said we'll see more intentional walks, sometimes maybe with first base occupied. When they bring in a pitcher, just go ahead and walk that guy. It counts as a batter faced for that pitcher. Also might see pitching changes if a pitcher falls behind 3-0. You can just come in and bring a pitcher out of the bullpen, throw a fourth ball to him, and it counts as 1 batter faced for that pitcher. So they also admitted they don't really know how it's going to work. It'll take some time for them to get used to it and see how teams strategize.
You bring a pitcher in with a 3-0 count, and now you want to just throw. What if you don't throw the ball and you just hold up 4 fingers? That pitcher gets credit for
Right, it has to.
Intentional
You're
walk.
exactly right. I was just thinking that you're right.
Doesn't even have to throw a pitch.
Which I don't like that rule. That you can just go forward and just automatically walk. You need to throw the pitches because there are a lot of pitchers who can't do that.
Right.
Who cannot throw those types of, an intentional walk. So, and I'm thinking, as a hitter, we've done our job, or offensively, we've done our job in order to force you to have to intentionally walk somebody, and then to put you in that position where you may have anxiety and stress about it. But to take that away.
They get to force that second. Run scores to make it 7-0. As Gavin Lux able to get the force on Garcia.
I always felt that baseball was sending a message with that intentional walk, that more rule changes are coming, but we're going to go with one that's real nebulous at first. I'm just going to crack the door.
Yep.
That's going to be the end of the top of the 9th inning. Caleb Ferguson reached his pitch limit. Will there be a bottom of the 9th, or are they going to call it? Kike's got the broom out, and I Love L.A. Randy Newman is playing. So it is a sweep. I don't know what Kike's doing right now, where he's going, but 7-0 is the final as Team Kike finishes off the 3-game sweep. Ned, your final thoughts on what we saw here throughout intra-squad play. It was a lot of fun. 11 intra-squad games for the Dodgers. We had about 9.5 of them here on Sportsnet LA.
Well, it was great seeing Clayton Kershaw pitch as good as he pitched tonight. Had a lot of endurance, had a fight through 1 inning there late, the next to the last inning that he threw. Great curveball. It's a field pitch. It's something that you got to use this time of the season to really get going, and he was outstanding tonight.
Clayton was certainly strong tonight despite giving up the home runs with the 11 strikeouts, Oral. And I know on Sunday you and Joe Davis will be in the booth at Dodger Stadium calling a real game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. What stood out to you over the last couple weeks here?
Well, I love the fact that everybody's healthy. My heart stopped there when Mookie made that swing, and it was great to see him get back in the box and swing the bat firmly again and feel like he's okay. That has been the key for me so far. The Dodgers are in camp and healthy.
They've worked really hard, and I'll tell you, we've seen, especially in this game, I saw a lot of guys driving the ball the other way. I like that, to see that from these hitters, especially at spring training.
All right, so the Dodgers will have a workout Saturday, a hybrid game, simulated game / intra-squad before the Diamondbacks will be here on Sunday. For Oral, Nomar, Neds, and Alana, I am John. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you Sunday. Finally, Dodgers Diamondbacks coverage begins at 5 o'clock.